Hello everybody, I'm KC and welcome to an edition of Let's Talk About, and welcome to the latest installment of To Infinity War and Beyond. 10 years of anticipation has come to this. An event unlike any other the superhero genre has known on the big screen, Avengers Infinity War. Thanos is finally stepping out of the credits and seeking out the Infinity Stones to shape the world how he sees fit, which affects all of the heroes we've met in the MCU and brings them all together to stop this common threat before it's too late. So, after all the build-up for this behemoth of a movie, my reaction to Avengers Infinity War pretty much boils down to,
I have an ouchie in here.
I could easily leave it at that, but what the hell, let's elaborate. And just a reminder, this is going to be a spoiler-filled review, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, I highly suggest you check it out first. I considered doing a spoiler-free version as well, but no. We gotta dump all this out at once. Easily the thing I was most excited about with this movie, and by far the most entertaining part overall, is seeing so many old and new heroes come together. The first two Avengers movies have pretty much just been the original 6, with any new additions being supporting characters. But at last, the rest of the main heroes are joining the Avengers, taking advantage of their gigantic cast with unique and interesting pairings. Like the first Avengers movie, it sort of helps that a lot of these characters are meeting each other for the first time, or in the case of the original team, have been split up for a long time. So anything you might have missed about the journeys of each of these characters, you can piece together as they share their stories with each other. One of my favorite examples of this is the fact that Bruce has been gone for so long that he needs to be caught up on everything that's happened on Earth in the past 3 years. I especially love his bewilderment at the fact that there's an Ant-Man and a Spider-Man.
Everyone's got a gimmick now.
I also love the Guardians Avengers debut, since they are just as funny as they always are. I didn't think they'd carry over the same attitudes from their movies into this one, because it's not the same tone as their movies, but the way the Guardians are written is consistent with those appearances, and actually leads to some of the lighter moments in the movie. I think almost every single laugh from the audience came from one of them, but mostly Drax. Rocket has some great moments with Thor, and even shows a bit of sympathy and initiative, which shows some growth for him that I really appreciated. And he finally got a robotic eye, so that's nice, I guess. But I gotta say, I'm not a fan of Teenage Groot. It was funny at first, but the bit got old really quick for me. However, some characters, while still getting some awesome moments, do get a bit sidelined compared to the others. Captain America, Black Widow, and Black Panther are probably the biggest examples. But Cap does still get an amazing entrance for his big return, and most of the climax goes down in Wakanda, so it's not like they were useless. And in a cast as big as this, it was bound to happen to some of them. It's just something to note when reviewing this movie. Spidey gets some fun moments with Tony, but Tony's best moments in this movie are his scenes with Doctor Strange, and thankfully they have to spend the majority of the movie together. A lot of people, including myself, have joked about how similar these two are, so having two intelligent smartasses who constantly think they know better, who just happen to be played by two of my favorite actors, butting heads through most of the movie, was the best part for me. Also, two Sherlocks forced to work together? That is all I truly wanted out of this movie, and it gave me so much. So thank you for that, Russos.
Moron.
Now before we get into some of the more serious parts, let's go through random things that I thought were cool. As I said, Cap's reintroduction and Falcon and Natasha kicking some alien ass is a pretty perfect return. Rocket's moment with Bucky was priceless. Red Skull makes a return, which was incredible and finally explains what the heck happened to him at the end of the first Captain America movie. How he became a cloaked guardian of one of the Infinity Stones that can float now is anyone's guess, but it looks so cool. While it feels like it went on too long, the time spent building Thor's new weapon was pretty interesting, with a surprising appearance by Peter Dinklage, who's a 10-foot tall dwarf, haha, get it? But I get why Thor was there for so long. He's way too powerful, especially after Ragnarok, to be brought into the main fight any sooner than he was, which was an epic entrance, by the way. Nice to see him in his old armor again. While the banter and relationships between all these characters is enjoyable in its own right, having so many characters with very diverse powers and abilities allows for many different creative scenarios when it comes to the action, a lot of which we haven't seen yet. And almost 20 movies in, that's damn impressive. Like Peter in the Iron Spider suit for the first time, Bruce piloting the Hulkbuster suit was a pretty fun twist on things, especially those first few seconds when he's really excited about it. Doctor Strange is continually advancing magic and the marvelous scenarios they create. Even using Mantis's powers to sedate Thanos in an attempt to get the gauntlet off was really clever, and shows that no strategy or contribution is overlooked. And that thought process goes both ways, because as Thanos, played by Josh Brolin, slowly gathers the Infinity Stones, you feel the escalation of power. And he not only frequently uses them to his advantage, but they actually set up a couple of rules that come with using them on the gauntlet. It's not much, but it's enough to give our heroes a window when they need it, without making Thanos look like an idiot. In fact, let's just talk about Thanos for a minute. It's debatable whether or not he's the best Marvel villain so far, but I don't think anyone would disagree that he is the most threatening. Even though they've been building him up forever, and anyone who knows anything about comics knows that Thanos is a major threat in the Marvel Universe, they remember to establish that for their movie audience. By having the first thing he does being kicking the Hulk's ass, almost kill Thor, and possibly killing one of the franchise's most powerful characters. If Loki is actually dead this time, I will be sad and impressed that they killed such a popular character, but I'm not convinced yet. It's Loki. If he's not back next year, then I'll be shocked. After so much build-up, some people could have been disappointed that Thanos didn't meet very specific expectations, but not only did he live up to the hype, in the eyes of most fans, he might have exceeded it. I personally would have been satisfied if Thanos was just a brutal and powerful wall for the heroes to defeat, but he actually has quite a bit of depth to him. From what I can tell, Thanos gathered the Infinity Stones in the comics to impress and court the living embodiment of death, because comics, but here it's a diluted sense of doing what's truly best for all life in the universe. Because his planet was destroyed by overpopulation and lack of resources, Thanos decides to destroy half of life in all the universe to provide better for those who survive. That kind of philosophy really gives Ultron a run for his money. But like Ultron, his aspirations are rooted in some hard truths, and his methods did work on some planets he's already conquered, including Gamora's, but at the cost of millions, if not billions of lives. And I can't believe I have to point this out, but because this is the internet, let's make something clear. Complex and sympathetic are not the same thing. Just because you understand the thought process of a character, it doesn't mean you necessarily sympathize with them. Thanos has more blood on his hands than any Marvel villain yet, and his delusions of superiority slowly but surely drain him of anything resembling empathy. It's what makes his choice to receive the Soul Stone so horrifying. The only thing we've seen him care about in this whole franchise in his own twisted way is Gamora, and he was willing to sacrifice even her for the sake of this goal. That is unforgivable, but it makes for a compelling villain that I absolutely love to hate. And just like with James Spader as Ultron, I was skeptical of Josh Brolin being cast in this part, but once again, the casting couldn't have been more perfect. There's a lot to Thanos, more than I think anyone expected, so it's a very demanding part that he doesn't even get to play on camera, but he rose to the challenge magnificently. Though his minions, while they have cool designs, are nothing to write home about. Except this guy. I like this guy. Not to look up his name, but he was good. Okay, time to get into the serious stuff. There's a lot at stake in this movie, and even before the events of the final act, a lot of our favorite characters lose a lot. Heck, the movie opens with the entire shuttle Thor rescued the Asgardians on being completely destroyed along with everyone on it to get to the Tesseract, which includes the death of Heimdall and possibly Loki, but I'm still not convinced. Either way, it lets you know right away that things just got real. There's an entire subplot with trying to keep Vision safe, with Vision asking Wanda to destroy the Mind Stone before Thanos can get to it, and while I think these two being romantic is kind of weird since, you know, he's a robot, the chemistry portrayed by Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen is undeniable, and in the end does lead to Vision's sacrifice. With one of those death scenes with no sound and slow-mo and dramatic music, which I love, and because the Guardians are the only ones who had any kind of personal connection to Thanos or had even heard of him before this, there's a lot of dramatic moments with them. Drax's instincts of revenge for his family kicking in as soon as he sees Thanos the first time, Gamora's incredibly complicated relationship with him and everything connected to him, including Nebula, which is probably given the most focus out of all the subplots. And then there's Peter. Okay, I've seen a lot of discourse over certain characters' choices in this movie, but the two that stand out are Star-Lord's and Strange's. Peter's actions did bother me at first too, I'll admit, but from a character standpoint, it does make sense. Peter has lost so much over the course of these movies. The Guardians are the only family he has left, and all of them, especially Gamora, mean everything to him, to the point that he was willing to kill her himself because he promised her. So that burst of grief and possibly guilt when he realizes that Thanos killed her completely clouds his judgment, which, while it was a really boneheaded move, does make sense for Peter when you think about it. And that's really what matters. Strange's is a bit easier to explain. Ever since taking on the responsibility as Sorcerer Supreme, he's looking at the bigger picture, and until the big moment is willing to sacrifice anything to ensure the safety of life in the universe. And despite how it looks at first, that's still true. He saw over 1 million outcomes to this, and there was only one where they were victorious. Giving Thanos the Time Stone in exchange for Tony's life was a strategy. He clearly knows more than we do at this point, and I feel like it has something to do with Tony in particular, since that was the moment he gives in. But that's just pure speculation on my part. I'm just glad Tony survived this. You could take down one of the other Avengers, but not Tony. Okay? If anything changed about Strange throughout the movie, it was his attitude, not his philosophy. Because thanks to the way this movie ends, he ends up sacrificing himself in order to ensure the ultimate victory. Hopefully. If you've made it this far, I'm sure you already know this, but for the people in the back, Thanos wins. He gathers all the stones and destroys half the life in the universe with a snap of his fingers, including half the Guardians, Bucky, Falcon, T'Challa, Strange, and the one that really got to everyone, Spider-Man. Okay, first off, Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr.'s performances are phenomenal in this short scene, and second, we know they're all gonna be fine because half of them have confirmed sequels, but I have to wonder what it would be like if this was more ambiguous, and after we all got so excited that Spidey finally got to be in the MCU, they kill him off after 2 movies. Suddenly Amazing Spider-Man 2 wouldn't look so bad, would it? Even though most of us know that 90% of the characters who died in this movie are going to come back, it's still an incredibly somber note to end on. It's the Ba Sing Se installment of the MCU. A sentence I never thought I would say. I will give them props for being this bold. No matter how sure you are that this is going to be reversed somehow in the next movie, it's still pretty devastating to watch unfold. There's not even any graphics in the credits. It's just simple black and white text all throughout. It's like they knew how everyone in that audience would be feeling and just went, look, you're not going to care about any fanfare we put on. Here's a scrap of hope at the end, and then you can go home to emotionally recover. Overall, Avengers Infinity War is... I'm not even sure if draining is the right word. There's a lot of excitement and energized performances to be had in this, with beautiful production design as its backdrop, but I feel weird even doing a review this long on it because the story's not finished yet. I thought this movie would end with a victory, only to foreshadow something larger on the horizon, but that's not even close. There is no sense of hope at the end of this outside of the fact that they want to keep this franchise going. And considering just how huge the build-up to this movie in particular has been, that took guts. A lot of reviewers have said that in order for this movie to keep its weight, the next one needs to have some major sacrifices in order to fix things. But for me, I'm good. This was enough. I just want to see all of Earth's mightiest heroes assembled again to make things right in an event that is equal in scale to this one. Except for Vision, because he was my bet for which character wasn't going to make it out of this. But we'll just have to wait and see. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Maybe a story will cheer you up. It's called The Ugly Barnacle. Once there was an ugly barnacle. He was so ugly that everyone died. The end.
That didn't help at all.